In this review of the Spyderco Gayle Bradely, I'm going to leave aside a lot of the specification talking points and general overview comments that you're going to find done very nicely in a couple other YouTube videos. What I want to focus in on this video is what I consider maybe the finer points of this knife that are either overlooked or not really articulated effectively as far as I can tell in other reviews. The designer of the Spyderco Gayle Bradely, of course Mr. Bradely, is both a talented knife maker and a champion cutter. And so I want to focus on these two elements in our discussion of what makes this knife unique. Gayle Bradely started making custom knives in 1988 and has since been producing custom knives, and his only collaborations have been with Spyderco. He's had two major collaborations. In cutting competitions, he set a number of world records. In 2008, he set a world record for cutting bundled rope, as well as a new world record for cutting bottles, with a total of 19 bottles. Gayle Bradely is a two-time cutting champion in the Blade Sports International Cutting Championship, and he did this as a man in his 60s and of a relatively diminutive weight of about 140 pounds. The knives used in the competitions, which cut a variety of media, are not really that large compared to many of the large fixed blades that are on the market now. The maximum allowed blade length in these competitions is 10 inches long and 2 inches wide. They usually don't weigh more than 2 pounds, but most importantly, they use a steel that allows for a very acute convex edge. This brings us to the ergonomics of the Gayle Bradely folder. You see, Gayle Bradely in the excellent Spyderco Design Insights series is very strongly emphatic that this is not a combat knife, this is a work knife or a hunter knife. Bradley is very clear that this is a utilitarian design meant for hard use and strong cuts, but I really think you need to consider this in light of the fact that he is a champion cutter. So it has a big and relatively undefined grip, but one that nevertheless is going to allow you to make a variety of excellent, strong cuts, and be able to do this without feeling like your hand is necessarily locked in one way. You see, the way that he's envisioning hard cuts is with a level of finesse. He made an analogy to my cutter that's documented in blade forums that a grip is a lot like a golf swing. When you're holding a club, you need to not have just a simple locked in position. You need to be able to use the physics of the knife to generate speed and strength at the same time. And if you aren't able to work with the mechanics of the handle, you're not going to have an effective cut. So while everyone agrees that the grips are very comfortable on the Gayle Bradely, I think the more interesting hypothesis or idea that I have is that the grips were actually designed for someone who actually has hard cutting skills, so that this knife is going to complement a good cutting technique. As far as the rest of the grip goes, I think you can easily understand why the recess Michael Walker liner lock is set up the way that it is, with a relatively deeply set lock bar. This brings me to one little quibble. The carbon fiber veneer scales are really a divergence from the otherwise very focused purpose of the knife. Yes, it is a very pretty knife with the scales and with the fine finishing from Taiwan, but you could have easily achieved a better grip with a different kind of material. Of course, the front end of the knife matters too, and so wear resistance and toughness are also major factors to consider in designing a hard use folder. Again, to return to blade sports competitions, a knife needs to not only be able to cut through hard surfaces such as woods or abrasive surfaces such as ropes or plastics, it also needs to be able to maintain a fine edge so that it can cut through paper afterwards. Though it is somewhat a controversial question for some people in the knife community, CPM M4 has emerged as the steel of choice in competitive cutting. Now, CPM M4 is Crucible Steel's proprietary M4. Its full name is Rex M4HC. It's a modified M4 steel that has high carbon. With a Rockwell hardness of 62 in the Gayle Bradely folder, it certainly falls squarely into the exotic or super steels realm, with extraordinary results both in toughness and in edge retention. Now, because I'm giving this knife away, I wasn't really able to perform any of the hard use testing that this knife is ideally suited for, but I can say that in terms of initial cutting performance compared to other Spyderco knives that I had, it was absolutely razor sharp out of the box, just as sharp as any of the other exotic super steel knives that I've owned. Compared to the Paramilitary 2, it has a much broader tip and so it's less fine, but still exhibited very strong cutting performance considering the overall girth of the blade. It bears repeating that the Taiwanese Spydercos are the finest finished Spydercos out there and some of the best finished knives on the market, period. You might be wondering why I haven't talked about the blade profile, the shape of the blade, the design of the blade in depth. Well, the reason why I haven't is because Gayle Bradely has done this extensively in his video with Spyderco, so please just go ahead and check out that link. It's going to be hyperlinked in this video and in the description below. The subtly functional and I would say elegant grip design, coupled with an extremely robust and formidable blade made out of an exotic steel, makes the Gayle Bradely an extremely outstanding value for its current street value, which is around $135. It's a knife that is exquisite in many ways, and is certainly one that I'm happy to share with the YouTube community as part of my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Thank you everyone for participating in this giveaway. Not only did I have over 100 correct entries, I had nearly 500 subscribers in the last month. And that's why I'm so pleased to announce that the winner is one of my very long-term subscribers, Bushcraft Dave. Congratulations! This knife is going to a fellow YouTuber. So please make sure to get over there and give him a sub and a congratulations. And please stay tuned here as I've got so much coming down the pipeline.